Here's the story of something a client said to me while I was doing her makeup that I will never forget. This story takes place back when I used to work on boudoir shoots. And as I've mentioned before, for most of the women that would come in, this was a completely new experience. Some of which had never even worn makeup before. And it was my job as the makeup artist to make sure that they felt comfortable in what they were wearing and that they looked great on camera. At this particular shoot, I had about 5 or 6 clients coming in that day. The client that I'm focusing on this story came in somewhere in the middle. Meaning she wasn't my first client, but she also wasn't my last for the day. When you're working on set of a photo shoot, things can get kind of hectic, especially towards the middle of the shoot, because you're constantly trying to clean your brushes and reset up your station for the next person to come in, which is usually literally 10 minutes after the last one left. When my client came in, I asked her if she had a photo of what kind of makeup she wanted, or if she knew the vibe of the photo shoot she was going to be doing today. I was really just trying to feel her out and make sure that we had a good starting point set. My client was very shy, and she pretty much told me that she doesn't wear very much makeup ever and that she just wanted to make sure she felt beautiful. I pulled up some reference photos on Pinterest and asked her to look through a couple. After about 5 minutes of scrolling on Pinterest, my client looked up at me and told me she didn't want anything crazy, nothing too dark, and that actually she really liked the makeup I was wearing if I could just do the same thing I did to myself that morning. I don't remember exactly the look I was wearing that day, but I do remember it was something very simple and something that just made me feel pretty. I was extremely flattered, and so that's the look we did. I made sure to keep her foundation light, give her some nice warm tones in her contour, and really work with the eye shape while giving her something natural and beautiful. Other than that, my client didn't really say much. I could tell that she was a very shy, nervous woman. Right before she got up out of my chair to go into the photo shoot, I handed her a mirror. And like I said, she was extremely shy. She didn't really say much, but she did tell me that she loved it, and then she got up to go get dressed for her photo shoot. After that, my next client came in, and then the next, and then the next. And kind of in the back of my mind all day, I just kept wondering if that lady really did like her makeup, because she really didn't say much to me at all. And it would make me feel absolutely terrible if she didn't feel beautiful in those pictures. When I got home after the photo shoot, I unpacked my makeup kit, started washing all of my brushes, and I got a text message on my phone. It was from the client that I had been thinking about literally all day. She said she just really wanted me to know that she really appreciated the makeup I did for her earlier, and that was the most beautiful she had ever felt in her entire life. As a makeup artist, getting that text message was absolutely incredible, and that became one of my favorite parts of doing makeup, is that whenever they get out of my chair and look in the mirror, they feel absolutely beautiful. The look I did in this video is something that makes me feel beautiful, and I would love to see what makes you feel that way.
I am currently 2 months pregnant, but my mother-in-law has clearly stated she is not happy for me and hates that I'm pregnant. She's been coming over a lot to cook for us, but I haven't been eating her food. Not because I don't like it, I've just in a lot of pain and very nauseous, but she's always complaining about it. I've been taking a lot of vitamins for my pregnancy, and when my mother-in-law asked, I didn't think much of it. This past Sunday, she came into our house and stayed for hours. Everywhere I go, I see her looking for something. I ask what she's looking for, but she doesn't say what, so I walk away and give her privacy. The past few days, I've had really bad abdominal pain, upset stomach, headache, and nausea. So when I called my doctor, she asked if I was taking anything, and I said yes, vitamins. She asked me to bring them in. That's when she told me it wasn't vitamins, it was actually aspirin. I knew right away my mother-in-law was the one who switched them out. I can't believe it. My mother-in-law made me feel so sick, and I almost miscarried if I didn't go see a doctor. I told my husband, and he confronted his mom. She completely denied it and said she would never do anything to harm her unborn grandbaby. It's so clear that she replaced my vitamins, and she's lying about it. I'm so upset, and I feel like I'm not being safe with her. I have no trust, and I want her out of my life. But my husband says we have no proof. When my daughter was born, she had dark skin and looked like her parents could be of African descent. My husband was furious and accused me of cheating and left right then and there. He told everyone on both sides of the family what happened and wanted a divorce. Then his friends and families all called me to say how upset they were and called me really nasty names. My mother was by my side the entire time as I kept professing my innocence. He refused to pick me up from the hospital, threw myself out on the lawn, and changed the locks. When my sister called to get the baby stuff, he texted her a picture of a bare nursery room and said he got rid of everything. He even destroyed my art studio. Eventually, he agreed to do a paternity test, and he was 100% the father. No one could believe this, so he did it again, and he was the dad. One of his cousins did the ancestry thing and found out there was 30% of African in their family. This made Jim's paternal great-grandmother admit to having an affair around the same time Jim's grandfather was born, and because he could pass as hers, she just assumed her husband was the father. Since then, he's been reaching out and everyone has come to apologize. I told him I needed time, and he asked to see the baby, and I let him, but I'm too afraid to physically hand her to him. I've never cheated and have been 100% innocent all this time. Am I the asshole for not wanting to give him a second chance? When my parents decided to get a divorce, I chose to stay with my dad. He was more financially stable, and he also promised to take care of me in the future and help me go through college as long as I graduated. When my grandmother from my mother's side passed away, I received a $30,000 inheritance, and recently my grandfather from my father's side passed away and left me with $50,000 as well. I was also working part-time jobs, and with all of that, I was able to save enough to comfortably put me through my 4 years of school. One day, my mom surprised my stepsister and bought her a brand new car. I was kind of shocked because it was way out of their budget because I knew they were struggling financially. When I looked at my bank account, I saw that a majority of my money was missing. I have my mom on all of my accounts because she wanted to monitor to make sure I don't spend too much money. I never would have thought she would have taken this and paid for my stepsister's car. Her reasoning was that my stepsister had a brighter future and had a bigger possibility of going to an Ivy League school and providing for us in the future. I, a student who gets mostly B's and C's, would just take over the family business, so I didn't really need it, and I could always work in the future. My fiancé and I postponed our wedding because his mother fell extremely ill, and so we're waiting until she's healthy enough to attend. My 17-year-old niece procrastinated in finding a dress for prom next Saturday, so she called me and asked if she could borrow one of my gowns. I work in the fashion industry and have amassed a small collection of black tie gowns that are reserved for events. I was happy to lend one out to my niece. They came over today, but I was on the phone with the client, so I just told them to go upstairs and go find something they liked. My cat knocked into a bag of flowers, so I was busy cleaning that up when my niece and my sister walked out of my closet. I didn't want them to step into the mess, so I told them I'd catch them on my niece's prom night. I went to see what dress my niece took, and I noticed that the white bag that contained my wedding dress wasn't zipped all the way, and I noticed my dress was missing. I called my sister, but she was avoiding my phone calls and immediately drove her to her house to confront her. They initially denied, saying they didn't know that it was my wedding dress, but that was BS because my sister was there when I picked out the dress and was at all my fittings. Then they changed the story and said that was the only dress my niece liked, and didn't think it was a big deal since it didn't really look like a wedding dress and they would have returned it anyways. I simply took my dress and left, and my niece was furious and crying, saying I ruined her prom. After moving to a new city, I met this guy on Tinder. Our relationship was progressing really fast, and after a few weeks of dating, I found out I was pregnant. We went to the hospital where they confirmed I was pregnant, but very early on. My boyfriend was furious. He said he didn't sign up for this, and he knew people who could quote-unquote get rid of it. I told him I'm going through with this, with or without him. I didn't speak to him for a couple days when he reached out saying he wants to be part of his child's life. He moved in immediately so that we could start saving money. The morning after he moved in, he made breakfast for me. I was extremely nauseous and not in the mood to eat anything. He started yelling at me and saying it's for the baby, I can't be selfish. Less than 24 hours later, I was bleeding uncontrollably. He told me it was nothing and I shouldn't seek help. When the bleeding didn't stop, I went to the hospital where they told me I was no longer pregnant. I had no suspicion he had anything to do with it, so we stayed together. Weeks later, I finally kicked him out because of the abuse he was giving me and my dogs. I found out I was pregnant and I told my OB the situation, and that's when she told me I most likely didn't miscarry but was given something to dispel my pregnancy. My daughter is now 2, but still live in fear of seeing him in public. My boyfriend and I have been on and off for about 4 years. We've had our share of problems that stem mostly from his parents. He comes from a very upper class family, and we met when I was just waitressing and he was in college for a high paying job. 6 months ago, I gave birth to a very much unplanned but beautiful baby girl. Of course, his parents were pissed about this, and from the start of my pregnancy kept trying to say that they didn't think it was my boyfriend's baby. But when our daughter was born, they became amazing grandparents. They always offered to keep her tons when we needed breaks, and it really helped us out, and they would always buy things for her, returning her with new outfits, bottles, toys, and etc. So anyways, a few days ago, my boyfriend came home and he was in a pretty bad mood. He didn't want to tell me, but in the end, he decided it was best if I knew. His parents let it slip that they had taken our daughter to get a DNA test about a month after she was born. Of course, the results came back that my boyfriend was the father, but he was pissed that they would even do something like this without our consent. I was livid. I called his parents and immediately told them that they were cut off. I don't need them or their money, and I'm disgusted that they would stoop so low. They apologized and said they only wanted what was best for their son, and they can't blame me for trying to be good parents. Growing up as the youngest of 6 siblings, I knew at a really young age I would have to put myself through college. So by the time I was 19, I saved enough money to put me through college with the help of scholarships and have plenty left over. Well, my eldest sister got married a month ago, and my parents took out a second mortgage, $30,000 to help pay for her wedding. My dad lost his job right after, and I knew that they were struggling financially. So when my mom texted me a few weeks ago saying, "Call me as soon as you can," I knew what she was asking for. I didn't have a problem lending them a few thousand and help them pay their bills, and I'd also give them a few of my tutoring gigs to help make some extra cash. But what I didn't expect was my parents' demand that I gave them the near $40,000 I saved to put myself through college. When I disagreed, my mom said, "You made that money under our roof. We were the ones who allowed you to work, so you have it because of us anyway. We bought you food and clothes for 18 years. I said that's the bare minimum when you sign up to become parents. And she hung up on me saying I wouldn't have the life I have today if it wasn't for them. I feel awful for refusing to help them out, but on the other hand, this was their fault. My mother-in-law has hated me since day one because I grew up in a single-family household, and she told my husband that he deserved to be with someone who came from a 2-parent household. For 4 years, I bit my tongue trying to get her to like me. When we got engaged, she tried to dictate my whole wedding, not offering to pay for anything. When I decided I didn't want kids at the wedding, she flipped and told me I was selfish, that the wedding isn't for me, that I'm tearing her family apart, and that I'm ruining her life. Day of the wedding, she causes a scene because my mom danced with me and my husband, stealing her spotlight. My husband and her get into a fight, he storms away, and then she pushes me. I push her off, and then she lunges at me, going for my throat. She's literally trying to choke me at my wedding. All because I try to grab my husband and say that this was not the time for a fight with his mom. She gets escorted out by security. Fast forward to now. She tries to communicate with my husband, and my husband ignores her. Now he wants her back in his life. I don't know what to do. This lady put her hands on me at our wedding. I tried explaining to my husband how much she's hurt me, and he says he understands, but that's his mom. I don't know if I should let my husband talk to her again because I don't want him to resent me, but she crossed so many boundaries and she doesn't see what she did wrong. And she refuses to apologize to me. When I was 27, my boyfriend proposed to me. We both have stable jobs and decided to plan the wedding immediately. Around the same time, my brother proposed to his 24-year-old girlfriend, and they started planning for the wedding as well. One day, my future sister-in-law called me to see if we can go over wedding planning. That's when she told me if I could get married in the afternoon and that she could get married an hour or two later, and then we share the reception. She said it'd become a great way for us to become sisters, and that this will mean the world to my brother. In reality, I know that they aren't financially well off, and she wants the fancy wedding without the fancy wedding price tag. I didn't really know what to say, but I told her that's mine and my fiancé's wedding. We planned it for us, and we want it to be about us. She exploded in anger and said I wouldn't understand how hurtful it is to see the amazing wedding that I'm planning and know that she couldn't have something like that. I told her I waited to get married so that I could afford the wedding I wanted. And she said she wants to get married before she's old and dried up like some people. She called me heartless and a selfish bitch. I stormed off, and my brother called me a few days later. He asked if I could please reconsider.
Do y'all want to hear the story about how I found out that my ex-husband and my ex-best friend had been sleeping together? I knew you did because you're nosy. So we're going to rewind to when I'm 20 years old. I'm working at this little hair salon in this horrible little town in Texas, okay? And one day this girl comes in, and we'll call her Ashley. So Ashley comes in and we become fast friends. So Ashley grew up in this town, went to high school there, yada, yada, yada. I did not. I went to a different high school, but we were both like bullied and didn't have a lot of friends in high school. So we kind of bonded over that, right? So several months later, after meeting Ashley, I meet my ex-husband and start dating him. Well, he and Ashley went to high school together and knew each other like all throughout, even though he was a year older. Now, my ex-husband was like popular, played football, you know, like peaked in high school. So Ashley thinks it's so cool that we're dating, like super supportive of it. Me and him end up meeting, getting married, and getting pregnant in less than a year, right? Classic Southern girl tragic tale. Ashley ends up meeting a military guy. They start dating, get married, and pregnant also within a year, okay? So super early on, me and her are both in abusive relationships. Like, it's not going well, but her ex ends up unaliving himself, and she becomes a single mom, right? Super suddenly, super quick. It's really sad time in her life, but I'm the kind of person who doesn't abandon someone when they become a single mom. And so I stay her friend through all this, and I'm like trying to support her and be a good friend. And Jeremy is right there with me trying to support her and be a good friend, which is so ironic. So one day, me and Jeremy go to Ashley's house, and she's talking about how she needs help with her yard work, okay? And Jeremy, the sweet, loving, kind, supportive person that he is like, I'll help you with your yard work. And Ashley's like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. You're such a sweet, supportive, kind person to help my friend like that, you know? So fast forward a month later, I end up leaving Jeremy. Totally unrelated. Nothing happens with the yard work, or so I thought. So a month later, I've left Jeremy, and I call Ashley, and I'm like, I left him. I'm done. I'm a single mom now, blah, blah, blah. And she's so supportive. She was like, oh, you got this. Like, I'm your ride or die. I'll be here for you through anything, blah, blah, blah. And like, she was there. She was there for me for the next year. For the next year, she was the person I could call through anything. I could call her and be like, I'm so depressed about dating. Single mom life's so hard. Jeremy was so awful to me. And she like listens and supports me through all of it. So a year of this happens, and we're just the best of friends. And one weekend, she came to hang out with me, and we're going out together, kid-free weekend, with my sister and my other friend. And we're going to DFW, and we're at this bar. And we're like one drink in. We just got to this bar. The night is young. And she's like, oh, hey, did I tell you about how I saw Jeremy at his high school reunion, right? Because it's a small town. They weren't in the same class, but you know how it is. Like, everybody goes to these things because there's nothing else to do. So she's like, yeah, I was at his 10-year reunion, and I saw him. And I'm like, oh, cool, you know, whatever. And she's like, yeah, and I heard a rumor. And I'm like, oh, what's the rumor? And she's like, well, I heard a rumor that he and I have been sleeping together. And I was like, oh, That's so weird. Like, when did this happen, and why are you just now telling me this as your best friend? This seems like something like vital information that you would share. And she was like, yeah, like several people came up and told me this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, what did you say when they told you this? And she was like, oh, I just told them that he had a weird growth on his thing. And I was like, that's weird. Like, why wouldn't you just tell them that, like, it never happened? Okay, so after my ex-best friend told me that there was a rumor going around that her and my ex-husband were sleeping together, and she said that instead of telling people the rumor wasn't true, she was telling people that he had a growth on his thing, which is not true. And I was like, Ashley, like, why would you not just tell these people that are coming up to you and approaching you with this supposed rumor? Why would you not just tell them that it's not true? Like, logically, if someone thinks that you're sleeping with your best friend's ex-husband, the first words out of my mouth would be like, that's a lie. That didn't happen. So she has no answer for this. Like, she does not have anything to say, really. And it's like really odd at this point. Like, we're out, we're with my sister, with my friends. And so everyone just like starts drinking more because it's like she won't answer any questions, and we just kind of like awkwardly move on from it. So the next day, I'm like, look, I need some clarification on what happened here. This is a weird story. I don't understand. I need to know who told you this. Like, I need to know the people who told you this rumor. And so she gave me 2 names, and I call both these people. And these people are both like third parties. Not her friends, not my friends, not his friends, just people that we all know from this small town. And I call both these people, and they're like, Ashley, who? Like, they both have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, it was clearly a lie. These people did not tell her this. So the weekend goes on, and she refuses to say anything else. Like, she will not offer any other explanation. She will not offer any more, like, this is what happened. The only thing she tells me is that she had not told me the last time she had seen my ex before this reunion thing. And it was because he had come to her house while we were still together to do yard work. Personally, I think this is when everything happened. It may have been after, but I think this is when it happened. And she said he came on to her and she rejected him, but he told her that if she didn't sleep with him, he was going to tell me that they did anyways. So she claims that nothing happened, but she never told me about this. And then we proceeded to become like the closest best friends ever over the next year. And I just think that either it happened then or like after we were split up, and she just never told me. And neither of them will ever confess. I know that, and that's fine. I don't need a confession. To me, it's the only logical explanation for what happened, and she was trying to cover her tracks and tell me this rumor in hopes that, like, if I heard the rumor, I'd be like, oh yeah, like, Ashley already told me about that. That's a stupid rumor. It's not true. And in reality, it was true. And if it's not that they slept together, then it's just that she used my traumatic relationship as an anecdotal story time around all my friends while we were hanging out, which is honestly like just as shitty and horrible to make up a story about people thinking that you were sleeping with your best friend's ex-husband just for fun if it didn't actually happen.
The other reason that I do think it happened is because the next day we went out to the Katy Trail Ice House, okay? And I was flirting with this guy there, and Ashley was flirting with his friend. Well, like, not long into it, the friend tells us that he recently got engaged. And I'm like, Ashley, like, this guy is, like, taken. Like, he's not interested. Now, he was, like, kind of flirting with her, too. But she, like, didn't care, clearly. Like, kept openly flirting with him. Even when I, like, kind of pulled her aside and was like, dude, like, I think you should chill. He's, like, engaged. She was like, I don't really care. And to me, if that's, like, where your moral compass lies with, like, people who are taken, then how am I to know that you're not going to try to get with my man?
This woman said when she turned 25, she married her childhood crush. Their families were close, so now she felt like that was going to play in her favor. Now, keep in mind, she's marrying into a polygamous marriage where she was going to be this guy's third wife. I'm a little bit, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. The fact that he had other wives and that she was marrying into a polygamous marriage was a secret that only her immediate family and a few close friends knew about. They were under the impression that she was dating this lovely guy and that, you know, it was just going to be them two. They were getting married in a monogamous relationship, so on and so forth. Y'all already know what time it is. Story time, let's go ahead and get into it. This woman grew up in the U.S. but was sent to live in northern Nigeria for her primary schooling when she was just 8 years old. Her parents wanted her to learn her culture and speak fluent Hausa. When she turned 13, she came back to the U.S. to be with her parents and her siblings and continue her education. She was always a star student, a top performer, valedictorian in high school, full scholarship to college, graduated summa cum laude, then straight into her master's program in international business. After getting her master's degree at 23, she landed a great job at a consulting firm and wanted to focus on dating and building her career. She was making good money, had her own apartment, and was living her best life. Around this time, she goes back to Nigeria for her best friend's wedding in Kano. That's where her parents run into this childhood crush. We'll call him Musa, and bring him by to where she's sitting so that he can say hi. She remembers him from when they were younger, but now he's 34, successful, and fine as hell. He's got his own construction company, drives a Range Rover, and owns property in Nigeria, the UK, and Dubai. He ends up sitting by her for the rest of the night at the wedding reception. They're talking about everything. His business ventures, her career in the US, their memories from childhood. Their chemistry is undeniable. They spend some more time together while she's there for 2 weeks. And when she returns back to the US, they start having more serious conversations. For the first 6 months of their getting to know you period, he never brought up any wives, even though she asked him several times about his relationship status. He'd always say something vague like, "I'm focusing on building my empire," or "the right woman is worth waiting for." She's thinking he's single and just being mysterious. After 6 months, during an argument they were having where she was upset with him for not making more time for their phone calls, he'd always cut the conversation short or be unavailable for days at a time. He finally tells her that he's actually married, but that he wants to take her as a wife. She's shocked. "What do you mean a wife? Like divorce your current wife and marry me? No, I want to take you as a wife too." She gets upset and cuts contact immediately. But after a month of him calling her family, sending her flowers to her job, and having mutual friends reach out to her, they're back on good terms. He's apologizing, explaining in their culture how it's normal, how much he cares about her, and how he can provide for both of his families. At that 1-year mark, he flies to Houston and proposes to her with a beautiful ring. She says yes, because she's genuinely in love and figures she can make it work. 3 months after that, in the midst of planning their wedding, he's on the phone with her talking about honeymoon destinations when he drops another bomb. "By the way, there's something else I need to tell you. I actually have 2 wives already. You would be my third." She's quiet for a long time. "2 wives, Musa? 2? "Yes, but listen to me. The first one, we've been married for 10 years. She's from my village. Our families arranged it when we were children. The second one, I married when I turned 30 because my dad was pressuring me to take his business partner's daughter as a second wife. But you, my dear, you're my choice. You're the one I actually want to build something with." At this point, she's so invested, emotionally and financially, they've already put deposits down for the wedding, and he comes from a wealthy family, and he has done well for himself. She's thinking about the life he can provide for her, the financial security, and honestly, she's deeply in love. After a beautiful wedding in Nigeria with over 200 guests and an amazing honeymoon in the Maldives, she gets pregnant with her first child almost immediately because he refused to let her get on birth control. "Children are a blessing from Allah," he said whenever she brought it up. Keep in mind, he already had 4 kids with his first wife and 3 kids with his second wife. Now that she's pregnant, he demands that she stop working, something he promised that he would never ask her to do during their engagement period. She obliged because he agrees to pay all her bills and give her a monthly allowance for anything that she needs. With him living mostly in Nigeria, running his businesses, and her living in the U.S., she has some freedom and flexibility. That said, she doesn't want to create any unnecessary drama, so she keeps quiet. She's thinking maybe this arrangement could actually work. 2 years after giving birth to their son, her husband asked her to relocate to Nigeria permanently. "I want my family together," he says. "I want to watch my son grow up." After 6 months of back and forth, her arguing that she likes her life in the U.S., him insisting that a proper wife should be by her husband, she finally gives in. The setup in Nigeria is that each of his wives has her own compound within his larger family property in Maitama area of Abuja. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Ngiri Allah, don't eat me. I'm doing my best. Wives 1 and 2 both have members of their respective families living with them. Sisters, mothers, cousins. Initially, she was alone in her compound, just her house girls, and her toddler son, until her mother came to join her a year after she got there. Things got more comfortable once mom was there. That first year, though, she was fighting for her life. Wife 1 hated her with a passion. Her and her family are heavily involved in juju practices. Wife 1 even told her to her face that she was actively working on putting stuff on her. Keep in mind, throughout the entire time, Wife 3 was constantly getting sick, dealing with strange situations. Now, it could all be a coincidence, absolutely. But she believed that Wife 1 was hexing her to get their shared husband to divorce her or force her back to the U.S. She'd wake up with unexplained rashes, have severe headaches for weeks, find strange items buried in her garden, even 2 miscarriages that year. When she'd bring it up to her husband, he'd dismiss it as woman's jealousy and tell her to pray more. Wife 1 felt like the new wife was their husband's favorite, a spot that had previously belonged to her. And she wasn't wrong. Their husband spent most of his time at the third wife's compound, brought her the nicest gifts, took her on trips all over the world while the other wives stayed home. Wife 2, on the other hand, was physically violent. She'd beat her any chance that she had, pushing her at family gatherings, slapping her during arguments, pulling her hair when they disagreed about different decisions. Wife 2 and her sisters even jumped her a few times. Once at a homegoing service, they cornered her in a back bathroom. All three of them attacked her because they didn't like what she was wearing and felt disrespected by her. Anytime she told her parents or her in-laws about the abuse, they would tell her to forgive and focus on the marriage. This is what polygamy requires, her mother-in-law would say. Patience and tolerance. You knew what you were getting into. After 15 years and 3 kids, her first son, plus a daughter born 3 years later, and another son after that, she's still with her husband, complaining to anyone who will listen, but still dealing with the nonsense. 10 years after they married, when he was 45, he took his fourth and final wife, a 22-year-old university student, and guess what? Now she is his favorite. They have 3 kids together, a son and a set of twins. The cycle has repeated itself. Now wives 1, 2, and 3 are all united in their resentment for wife 4. Now she's 40, living in Nigeria, still financially dependent on a man who divides his attention, time, and resources between 4 women and 13 children. She's never gone back to work, never rebuilt her independence, and has spent her entire adult life sharing her husband with 3 other women. Crazy part, when younger women ask her for advice about similar situations, she tells them that to follow their hearts and that love conquers all. She's never once told anybody to run. That said, some women will stay no matter what, convincing themselves that their situation is unique and that their love story is different and that things will eventually get better. My question, though, is at what point does following your heart become ignoring your brain?
In college, you get a lot of free stuff, and by that, I mean you get bags of rubbers. Any kind you can imagine, flavored, glow in the dark, any colors you want, like they have them all and they keep them in little bags. And I became a very frequent customer because you don't have to pay for them. They just give them to you. And honestly, people really like when you're like, you want to try bubblegum flavor? So about my 3rd time stopping by the booth, they say, oh my gosh, we noticed you come here a lot, which means you should also get tested for STDs. And I was like, okay, because you guys provide such customer service, I suppose I'll get tested. And the testing was free, so I do it. And they're like, look, if we find anything we don't like, we'll give you a go, but you probably shouldn't have to worry. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I actually was kind of worried because I just begun seeing this guy and his name was Garrett and he did theater like me. He was funny, he was talented, he was nice, and I'd just been seeing him a lot. So I was like, I think this can work. Fast forward like a week, I'm hanging out and I get a call. And I'm like, what's up? And they're like, you have chlamydia. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a breakdown. I was freaking the fuck out just because I was like, I don't even know where I got it from. And I would say where I got it from, but then this story would just be sad. And on the phone, they're like, you're gonna have to come in, you're gonna have to take these pills, and we're gonna have to ask you some questions. I'm freaking the fuck out. I go in and I'm like, what are the questions? And they're like, name every single sexual partner you've ever had, write them down, and now you need to contact them all to tell them to get tested. Hi, my name's Adrian. I gave you chlamydia. That's what they wanted me to do. That's what they wanted me to do. And I was going to do it because if you don't do it, it's fucking illegal. By the way, it's illegal. So who do I have to tell? Garrett. I have to tell Garrett. Hey, Garrett. I know everything's going great, but I gave you chlamydia. I call Garrett and I'm like, hey, Garrett, I need to give you something. No, tell you something. He's like, you can tell me whatever. Come over. I come over and I hang out with Garrett. I grab both of his hands and I'm like, look, I know we only had protected but you need to get tested because I'm a carrier of chlamydia. And I start crying because I really liked Garrett. And oddly, Garrett's really sympathetic. Garrett grabs my hands and he says, hey, don't feel bad, all right? I have something to tell you that might make you feel better. Really, Garrett? What is it? I know exactly how you're feeling right now. It's so hard. Oh, what do you mean, Garrett? Well, last year I infected the entire theater department at Mizzou with chlamydia through a chain reaction, so I've been there. Not the same, Garrett. When I was in school, I was bullied a lot, and honestly, I don't even really judge these kids. I was weak, and they saw that, and as nature implies, they took advantage of it. Specifically the neighborhood kids. I won't name any names. But I was kind of like just like the kid that was like around to like just be pushed around or picked on. Like literally one time we were even walking home and 2 of the girls were like walking behind me and like they were laughing really hard and I was like, what's so funny, guys? And they were like, we were just like joking about pushing you in front of one of those cars. And like obviously I didn't laugh nearly as hard because all I could think about was dying. But this actually manifested into a series, a rivalry, if you will. I wasn't really down for this rivalry, though, because, again, like, I was weird. I liked God, I liked reading, and I liked boys, but only boys that were in emo fashion. I was a simple girl, and I did not cuss. And one day at school, the neighborhood girls came up to me, and the leader of them, let's call her Alice. Alice walks up to me and she's like, so you think you're better than us? And I'm like, what? Because I played cello, you know? I wasn't walking around with my cello case, coming out of orchestra, acting like I owned anything, let alone an ounce of social standing. So I was just confused. And I was like, I don't think I'm better than you, Alice. And Alice was like, yeah, you do. You don't talk to us at school. You think you're better than us. You walk around. You think you're so cool. And I was like, I really don't think I'm anything. And then she says, let's fight. Let's fight right now. And there's these kids that are starting to circle around us. And I'm like, I know I'm going to get my ass beat, so I would prefer if we didn't fight. Except it came out sounding like, no, thank you. My mom says that girls aren't allowed to fight, so I would like to not fight. And she's like, no, let's fight right now. And I was just like, look, I don't want to fight you. And you even talking to me makes me look bad. I don't know where the fuck that came from. I'm pretty sure I heard it in a movie. Like, I heard it in a movie and I was so ready to use it. And I thought it was so fucking cool. And she goes, oh yeah, your dad divorced your mother because he doesn't love you and that's why he doesn't want to be around. I kind of just... Everything went silent because like nobody had known that my parents were divorced. So I just walked away and I cried. Just in a corner 5 feet away, and everybody agreed it was a little harsh. And then fast forward to the 8th grade dance, she said something shysty to me. I don't really remember, but I think it was something along the lines that I looked fat. And so I decided to cuss for the very first time, and I said, what the shit, Alice? What the shit is wrong with you? What the Okay, I have a story, and if you'll excuse me from smiling so much, I'm just like a little tipsy. But I was in 5th grade and I wanted to be in the talent show, but I was way too scared to do it by myself. I originally had one of my friends like plan it with me, and we were going to do a duet and a planned dance to Fergalicious by Fergie. Which, like, now I, like, even think about it, like, that's not really that appropriate for 5th graders. But it's what I chose because I loved Fergie and my mom didn't watch me. I had done the costume designing. I got my mom's floor-length fur coat, a pair of heels that didn't fit me. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like the brains, I was the choreographer, I was the person who had definitely put the most work into the performance. And unfortunately, I have my partner step out on me. And the way that the talent show worked is you had to try out for the talent show and then you made the talent show. The trying out though was actually just like in front of your class. So like the 5th grade class would see you try out for the talent show, and if you made it, you could be in the school-wide talent show because you were talented enough. So my partner backs out and I'm just like, holy shit, who am I going to get to be my partner? Hold on. Oh my god, I literally have a yearbook. Shut up, I'm looking for it. Hold on. I found it. Oh my god, I almost broke my phone. That's me. That's what I look like. So imagine just this girl doing this before you see the story. And I called upon this girl. This was the neighborhood girl in my neighborhood. And I was like, look, girl, you're gonna have to perform Fergalicious with me. Do you have what it takes? And she was like, yeah, I'll perform it. We get on stage. This bitch doesn't know Fergalicious. I'm there with my entire fur coat, my big ass sunglasses, and I was new in town. I had just gone to the school like I just transferred, and this is my big debut. And I'm like in 5th grade, and I'm like, Fergalicious, I am promiscuous and this body tastes delicious. Because again, I cannot stress enough, I did not have an active parent. And you know what she does? She abandoned me. She left me in my floor-length coat. And she made me finish Fergalicious by myself. And I didn't make any friends after that. I know I told you all the story about Seth, but there's another Seth who caused me way more pain than my great emo king, Seth Waffles. That's what he went by the way. He went by Seth Waffles. But this Seth was local. He was a homegrown, asshole. Ever since I was little, I hated Seth. I was childhood friends with this guy named Justin, and he was best friends with Seth. And if Justin was hanging out with Seth and I was in elementary, I ran my happy ass upstairs. He creeped me the fuck out. And he wasn't like weird, like, he was popular. He was way more popular than me, but the way he looked at me, I don't know. There was something so dark and fucking twisted behind those little blue eyes. And he had no eyebrows. He had like pale ass eyebrows. So fast forward, we're in junior high. I look like this. Don't laugh. This is how I look like. This is a real fucking picture of me and not Coconut Head from Nasty Classified School Survival Guide. There was something about this face that just it made people filled with rage. Like I was targeted. Like I was random, I was cool, and I didn't deserve what happened to me. So that sweet girl, she's excited because she gets to go to Slitterbond. It's a junior high trip, and even though it's my worst fear, wearing a swimsuit, I'm like, this is gonna be the best day of my life. I pick out my swimsuit, I get my things together, and I'd actually just been bitten by a brown recluse. I had an open wound in the back of my leg, but even though the doctor said I couldn't go, I wanted to go, so I was in pain, but I went. And I'm getting on the bus, and Seth and Sebastian, his stupid little friend, come up to me, and they're like, and I'm just clutching my open wound, and I'm like, how may I help you? And Seth is like, oh, Sebastian wants to ask you something. And Sebastian looks at me and he goes, do you want to go out with me? Clearly it was a joke. You guys saw what I looked like. And I knew it. I knew it was a fucking joke. So I was like, stared at them. I was being abused at home. I knew when somebody was fucking with you, and I was just like, I'm getting on the bus and I'm gonna enjoy my day anyway. After riding in the bus alone, I'm on my way to get the free lunch under the pavilion, and a group of super popular kids stops me. The most popular girl comes forward. I'm just trying to get to the pavilion again, free food. And she's like, really fucking cruel, bro. So I heard Sebastian asked you out earlier, but now he's actually going out with Alexia, so I think that means he asked you out as a joke. I freeze because I'm in my mom's one piece, and I'm chubby, and I'm chafing. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I'm being made fun of. I get it. And you think it would end there, right? No, because my life's a joke. Weeks later, Seth comes up to me, and he has all these papers, and he said, I got everybody in school to sign them. And I say, what? And he says, it's a petition for you to be nicer to me. And I was like, are you not tired of this, Seth?
I just ended things with my girlfriend of over a year. We live together and have shared a lot of love and good times. She's very generous, loving, kind, shared responsibility pretty well around chores, and made me feel special with dates and gifts regularly. She helped me through some very hard times this year. I often thought that we'd be together forever. But something was missing, and our communication often felt off. She would easily become defensive to me, voicing feelings, needs, raise her voice or speak in an angry tone, sometimes even saying hurtful things that she didn't mean, sometimes shut down or even dismiss me for days. We went to therapy and she made a lot of changes, but I still felt uneasy with her. I could never tell if she was responding to me in a patient way or a hostile way if I raised an issue. She seemed to think that I was asking for perfection and wanting her to watch her tone, listen, not get so reactive. She says that she's making it up that counts, not the conflict. She told me, good luck finding someone who can do all of that for you. I feel hurt, and I'm doubting myself. I don't trust my girlfriend. We've been together for a little over a year, and I'll start by saying that she's told me that she's cheated multiple times in previous relationships and has been the type to line up the next guy, as they say. She's also told me that she took time to work on herself, and she's not the type of person anymore. And at first I was okay with it, despite raising a minor red flag in my head. I'm trying not to hold her to her past mistakes, but recently it's really been weighing heavy on me. She works in an office setting, and her team recently hired a new guy. She's been talking to him and about him a lot lately. She told me that another female coworker made a comment, something along the lines of, "Ooh, so you and the new guy, eh?" Which made me feel uneasy as it implies that they act flirty together. I'm heavily considering the fact that maybe I'm just being insecure and might have some deeper trust issues, and if that is the case, I'm not sure how I can work on that issue while still being in a relationship with her. Any thoughts or advice?
One of the funniest things about being a teenager is shit just happens to you and you don't say anything about it because you just feel like too awkward to say anything. When I had my braces, me and my older brother got them at the same time. And to save money, my mum made us get them at Melbourne Uni Dental Clinic. Basically, like, uni students do your braces. Okay, but they're like graduating orthodontists, so it's safe, okay? There's like a master orthodontist walking around the house, but honestly, he fucked me up too. So when I got my braces on, my orthodontist, he was an Irish lad, he had an Irish accent, and sometimes it was really hard to understand him. Anyways, he did my braces. When I first used to start, it would take him 2 2 hours to tighten my braces. Apparently it takes 10 minutes normally to get your braces tightened. I didn't know that. I literally thought it was normal to be in there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And one time he literally put a screw in the roof of my mouth because I was like, I think his final assessment. I was the one that he showcased to his like, you know, end of year thing. So he was literally doing everything this guy could think of to my mouth. I swear I didn't need to put no screw in my mouth. One time when I was at the dentist with him, I was like, obviously I was always in the room by myself with him, like the area. I was laying back in the chair and I was used to laying there for like 3 hours, girl, like whatever. I was just laying there imagining things. And this guy was behind me in a wheelchair and he was looking at his computer. And obviously for some reason he wanted to slide across from where he was in his wheelchair to the other side to get something. So he goes to slide, but something's stopping him. Something's in his path, like behind him. I'm gonna reenact this. So he's at point A, he's trying to get to point B. Oh, something stops him. Oh. You know what that something is called? That something is called my freaking head and my top knot, my big bun. Right here, okay, laying in the chair with my mouth in a thing. I can't even talk, can't even express myself. There's something in my mouth. And he's like, and he's knocking into my head, knocking into me like this. And my dumb ass, like, I don't know why I didn't say anything like, oh, you're hitting me, or like, oh. I just decided to like let this guy keep pushing into me to the point where I'm like, fuck, this guy really needs to get past and he's not turning around. So you know what I did? I turned my head like this. And I let him slide his chair across my head. So I went like this, and it was like, snap my neck over. My top knot was on the side of my head. And then when he gets past, I see him go like, whew. And he looked back. He didn't even figure out that it was me that he was bumping into. I was like, bro, that was my head. I didn't say anything though. My bun was on the side of my head. I tried to quickly fix it because I didn't want him to turn around and come back to me and realize, oh my God, her bun's on the side of her head. Like I was hitting her. Because then he's going to be like, why didn't this weirdo say anything? So this has just lived in my head for free that like this guy literally dislocated my head just to slide across. Another time when I was laying in the chair for like 7 hours, master orthodontist came in, this guy, and he didn't have a mask on, okay? I was sitting up like this. Do you know I saw this man talking and a spit bubble fly in the air and it go directly towards my mouth? Now, I didn't feel it land in my mouth because, like, you wouldn't, but from what I could see, that shit landed in my mouth and I was like, because I'm like a germaphobe, I was like, no, I can't handle this. Anyways, while he was still up there, he was looking at my mouth, looking at the 300 things they'd put in there, and like I think there was like multiple dentists like looking over because like they're all students, so they come and look and see what's going on. Like this guy was like doing stuff on my face. When he was up here, he dropped one of his tools. As he dropped it towards my head, I'm seeing it so much come towards my head, he's trying to catch it with the slowest reflexes. He tries to go like this, like this. You know what he does when he does this? He collects my nose, okay, my big, gorgeous round nose. He collects it like this, and he like smacks my nose in his hands like this and knocks my face, and he's like, oh, sorry there. While the little mini mirror still fell on my head, so not only am I getting spit in my mouth and a mirror falling on my head, I'm getting my bloody face sandwiched and my nose chopped off. Anyways, that was the master orthodontist, bro. I don't even know if that's what you call them. My teeth turned out great though, like they did. Like ignore the bottom. My dog basically stole my retainer for like 6 months and had it, and then like my teeth moved, and then by the time I got a new retainer, they all moved. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. But anyways, yeah, that's my story of when I had braces from the orthodontist. And like he would literally be in uni, the guy. Like I remember one time me and my friend were in the city and I had to go to my braces appointment, and she came with me. Poor Olivia, I bring her with me everywhere. And we got off the tram and he also got off the tram with his fucking like uni bag, and he was walking to like the dental clinic, and I'm thinking like, bro, this guy just finished his class and now he's gonna go work on my teeth. Like it was just so weird, and we like followed him, but I didn't want him to see me following him because that would just be really awkward to say hi outside of the thing. Anyways, yeah.
Story time of the time my entire high school saw my boobs and a video of me in the shower that I had no idea existed. So that I do not get sued, I will be changing names from the story, but some of you weird fuckers who did this to me in high school follow me, so I hope that made your stomach drop. I do unfortunately have to give a trigger warning for child porn. If you understand what I'm saying, I was underage when this happened to me. This all started my 8th grade year at my first year ever in public school on New Year's Eve. I was with 4 of my closest girlfriends, but only one of them needs to really be talked about during this story. We are going to call her Ella. So at the end of the night rolls around, we were all having a good time, and I go to take a shower, which I feel like is a pretty normal thing to do. So now we're gonna skip ahead a year to my freshman year of high school. Like I said, that was in 8th grade. This will make sense in a second. So it's my freshman year, it's right at the beginning of the school year. I'm pretty petrified, as I feel like most freshmen in high school are. I had just made like the varsity cheerleading team. I was trying to make friends. It was very overwhelming, like for that age. Cheer practice one day, it's one of our first practices of the season. And one of my teammates comes up to me, and I will forever love her for letting me know before somebody else did. And she's like, Kendall, this is gonna, like, why is there a video of you going around of you in the shower? And I'm like, what do you mean? I've never taken a video of myself in the shower. I was like 15 at the time. I just remember looking at her and my heart dropping and being like, what are you talking about? There's no way. It can't be me. This must be someone else. And she was like, no, Kendall, like I'm 100% it was you. We were at my birthday dinner last night, and one of the boys that was sitting at the table with us airdropped it to the entire table at Chili's. This is where it all started. I didn't really know what to do at this point. I was petrified of my coach finding out, of my mom. I'm like flipping through every file in my head. I'm like, did I do that? But like, why would I do that? I was so fucking confused. Still being extremely confused. I didn't want to like lose my place on this team. I continued on with practice, went about my day until the next day at school. I remember sitting in class. It was a normal day. I was trying not to think about it too much because I was like, she has to have me confused with someone else. There's no way that it's me. That would be until every single person who had their airdrop on in the classroom got an airdrop except for me, and the entire class just turned around and just fucking stared at me, and I knew exactly what was going on. And I have never been so... I still sweat to this day talking about it. I remember not asking the teacher if I could go to the bathroom, anything. I just ran out of the room, ran to the bathroom, and I remember sitting on the bathroom floor just absolutely sobbing, and I'm pretty positive that I stayed there for the rest of the day on the bathroom floor. So I left school that day. It was at this point where I just started getting absolutely bombarded with texts from my friends, people that I wasn't really friends with, and I didn't know what to do because I had never seen this video. I didn't remember taking this video. I was convinced that there was just no way it was me. It had to be someone else. I truly don't think I've ever been so confused in a situation still to this day in my entire life. So the next day at school, I'm sitting at lunch and I didn't even want to be there. I was begging my mom not to make me go to school. She's like, why do you not want to go to school? Like, what's wrong with you? You have to go to cheer, like blah, blah, blah. And this video gets airdropped in the school cafeteria. And this is when things really, if you didn't think they were going downhill already, this is where it starts to go downhill. Again, I run out of the room and I go and I sit on the bathroom floor at my school and just sob for the rest of the day until cheer practice. And this is the day where I knew that it was just getting bad and that everything was kind of about to go to shit. And this was when my cheer coach pulled me aside at practice and was like, why am I having so many people come to me telling you that there's a video of you naked in the shower? Also, still at this point, I had still never seen this video. Nobody would show it to me. It was like people were being so mean about it that they just liked it, that they could see it and like hold it over my head and not have me see it. Like I had no idea still. I was still fucking confused. So at this point, I just absolutely break down to my cheer coach. I still love and talk to her to this day. And she sent me home, and at that point I was like, I think I need to tell my mom because I honest to God don't ever remember taking this video. I like need to tell somebody what's going on because this is like not okay. Another thing that I forgot to mention that happened to me is the day when I left the cafeteria and I was running to the bathroom, there was a boy who was a couple years older than me and he had a bottle of water in his hand and he threw water at me and asked if I needed to go take a shower. And like it was just so bad. And so when my mom came and picked me up, I had a mental breakdown and she didn't let me like go to school for a few days until we figured out what was going on or like what to do. At this point, I did know who was spreading the video the most. It was two of like, it was like a guy I had like talked to in like literally the 8th grade, and then another one was a guy that I like was very involved with from the 8th grade, like really all throughout high school because I'm that fucking stupid. I forgave him for all of this. Like I am so mentally ill, it hurts. So the only thing that my mom and I really knew to do at this point was to just go to the school and see if like the principal or someone on the board, like, and this, as you can imagine, is so mortifying to go to the board about this. But we hadn't seen the video. We didn't know if it was actually me or not in it. Like, we didn't know what to do. At this point, I just wanted to move like out of state. Like I was like, I want to switch schools. I was so fucking mortified and embarrassed without even seeing the video that you just wait. So my mom calls the principal, and surely enough, when she gets on the phone with him, he happens to tell her, oh my goodness, I was gonna call you at the end of the day today. I needed to talk to you about this. Like it had already made its way to him. Like everyone knew about this. I swear to God, everyone. He had another parent, I don't know who, send it to him, and so now I'm mortified that the principal has either seen my boobs or like some other girl's boobs that I don't fucking know. So we go in for a meeting at the school with the principal, some people from the board, like the superintendent, the lady at the front desk for some reason, the security guard that was like always outside the front door of our high school, my mom and I, like so many people in this fucking room. And keep in mind, I still had not seen this fucking video. So we're in this meeting and they start playing the video and I immediately knew what was going on. Every single puzzle piece connected in my head in that moment and I just broke down sobbing. So remember at the beginning of the video when I told you I had those 4 girlfriends, New Year's Eve, I took a shower at the end of the night? One of those weird ass bitches, what did I call her? Ella, I think? She decided to like stick her phone above the shower curtain and take a video of me showering, held on to that video for 7 months, 7 or 8 months. And then one day on like a random fucking school day, just decided to just blast it everywhere, send it to one of my ex-boyfriends. He's the one who like airdropped it at Chili's. Like everything made sense. And I have never been so angry and like felt so upset at like so many people in my life. Also, mind you, there was nothing that happened between me and Ella. We were fine. We were literally still friends whenever this video started going around. Oh shit, hang on. So I will forever think she is like one of the absolute weirdest people I've ever met in my entire life for this. So at this point I had two options, either deal with it or I could press charges. But here was the gag about that. If I pressed charges on Ella, I had to press charges on my ex-boyfriend, the boyfriend that I had talked to in the 8th grade, everyone who airdropped it, everyone who was like, I was gonna have to press charges against like upwards of like 10 to 15-year-olds. Like I just didn't want to put people on a sex offender list at that early on in your life. Like I couldn't do it, so I didn't press charges. So that's pretty much all that happened. I just kind of decided to suck it up and leave it alone. After I understood what the video was and what was happening, that was when I could, you know, go to people and be like, hey, like actually this is what happened. Like she's a fucking weirdo. And she ended up, I want to say either like moving like a lot of counties away or like moving out of state or something, but like the tables completely turned. But people still are weird about it to me, which is just bizarre. I unfortunately couldn't, you know, go to everyone who had seen that video because it was literally hundreds of people. And, you know, tell my side of the story and like, hey, like I didn't do that on purpose. Like I never knew that was taken. And I was also 15 in that video. So I shit you not, one of the last times I was home in Georgia, I was out at an Athens bar and a guy who I did not even know, he apparently went to a surrounding high school of mine, came up to me and was like, yo, I remember that video of you in the shower, like when we were in high school. And I just looked at him and was like, you're a fucking weirdo, because I was 15 years old and I have never seen a man look so stunned, but like that, like what the fuck is wrong with you? And like what a weird conversation starter. Sorry, I know this video is kind of long, but I think my point with all this is if you've ever had something like this happen to you, know that it's not just you, it's not your fault, it's humiliating, but it's not really something to be humiliated about. It wasn't your fault. It's gonna be okay, I promise. I live a very happy, fulfilling life now. This does not haunt me anymore.